right, welcome to the OKD Community Development Meeting for the second day of May of 2023. And we have the task board in front of us. And essentially, we're a little light on participants today because we've got a lot of folks out. So let's just take a look at the board really quick and talk about some of the things that happened. In terms of new stuff, there's no motion on refreshing the home page, review and refreshing the home landing page. We haven't, no one's taken up the define a process to create a doc PR. I have not started on creating the outline of the release cycle and support assistance yet. And it looks like you're in planning stages for move guides to blog posts.
Yeah, I can talk about that in a bit.
Yeah, by all means, go ahead.
Okay, so I've created number 32, which is investigate a blog plugin. So at the minute, it's a bit clunky to add a blog because we've got to go create the blog entry, then manually update the indexing. Where there are a couple of plugins available to MK Docs, which do that for you automatically. So before I went and moved all the guides, I'm gonna activate one of the plugins. I'm just investigating it now and testing it out. But the idea is you put a little bit of metadata and then it gives you a summary page with like the first sentence of each blog, standard blog layer types things. And that's automatic by adding something to a subdirectory of the blogs folder within Docs. So I'm gonna add that in, and then once I've added that in, I can then move all the guides across rather than having to do all the manual index page updates.
Fantastic. Is there a way to link those? Is there a way to link tasks?
The easiest way is I'll just put a note in.
Okay.
For 32.
Yeah, 29 to 32, or vice versa, whichever one. Yeah.
To be completed.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you for that work. And I agree that making the change to the index kind of complicates things. It's not like you can just go and be like, I'm going to write a blog post really quick. Yeah.
And then I'm going to move this one to backlog. So
okay, perfect. Perfect. No progress on the Tecton docs. I was working on the other stuff. And they are still making sort of changes in their process right now. They're actually mid-change.
Yeah, Jamie?
Yeah.
On the Tecton stuff, I had to uninstall Tecton from the 4.11 on the way to 4.12 because it was using APIs that were removed from the latest version of Kubernetes.
Do you remember which one it was? Was it removed or was it a version change like autoscalers or something like that?
Well, it was let's see, which one was it?
Well, if you don't have it, that's fine. If you want,
I don't have it in front of me. It was
if you could just go back to the planning doc and go to that item and paste in what you find.
Sure. Yeah,
that would be helpful. Cool.
But I'd imagine that would be getting fixed fairly quickly because the Tecton project really has to work on the latest Kubernetes, and these are Kubernetes rather than OpenShift APIs. Right. So I'm imagining that will get fixed pretty quickly within the Kubernetes project.
Yeah. Excellent. Video content. No one's approached me with any more video content that they wanted to write or produce, I should say. But yeah, we've got that open in the backlog because we can do more video content. We just need ideas, and I'm happy to provide the video editing services for it. And recording. I can meet up with folks online and record them and then do the file. Write up project board guidelines. We haven't really had anyone take that yet. And update the installing OpenShift on single node instructions in the end user docs. right. And send a
So
message.
that one,
Yeah.
one is blocked on number 2, which is in the in progress.
Right. Yeah. I sent a message to him. I'll send a message again just to see where he's at, because he kind of disappeared again. So.
What is that, Luigi?
No, well, no. I mean, Michael is
No, number 2 is what I'm actually needing help on.
Oh, I
That's
see. Right. You need the single node. Right. Got it.
That is creating the single node.
Right.
So the idea is that we're going to create the single node instructions, get them validated, and then once we've got the instructions working, we then need to update the actual official docs.
Right. And he had some materials basically, but he hasn't massaged it into something. Draft guide can be found here. There's your stuff, right? And then we need to get some feedback. All right.
Well, at the minute, I can't get it to work.
Right. And that's what I mean, like feedback on getting it to work correctly. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I think the other thing we want to do is work out where we want to put Luigi's stuff within the docs, because Luigi did a hand cranked single node install from sort of bare sort of config and how to build it up yourself manually.
Yeah.
So I think that would be useful. I mean, it is almost like a UPI install for single node.
I was thinking that would be a good blog post, because then it can sort of showcase that he's one of the people working on some of the fundamental aspects, and also here's something that he did by hand on the side. So,
yeah, but I didn't know whether we want that to become part of the doc. So somebody wants to do a custom single node install, they can, versus using the self-hosted assisted installer.
Yeah, everyone sort of gravitated towards the assisted installer, and we've been getting lots of questions about it. But I'm still thinking back to when I first started with OpenShift and OKD. I was doing hand crank stuff. I think it'd be useful as a blog post, and then if it seems like it's getting some traction, and if it's something that can be duplicated over time, then move it into something that's a doc. And we talked about this process before, like test it out as a blog post. Does it hold water over time to be like a permanent document type thing? And is it easily updatable, right? All right. Then moving over to the ready section, review licensing copyright. That's you and Luigi. And Luigi is going to talk to Red Hat internally. Haven't heard anything back on that. Next time we see him, we'll ping him on some of these. Review survey responses. I shared those out with you, right?
I got a link or something.
Yeah, the link is also in that other ticket for synthesize the survey results into something visually appealing. So the link is in that, so 34 as well.
Yep.
So go ahead and start looking at that, and that'll inform, and you'll see this actually, I did start constructing 2023. That's in progress, number 33. And basically, I think we can look at the responses and go, okay, this question didn't quite get us what we were getting at, or maybe we need to word this differently. You know, based on responses, we can sort of improve, I think, the 2023 survey. And it looks like if you and I work together over the next couple of weeks, we can get it out pretty much a year to the day after the previous one was out. So I don't know what your schedule is like the next couple of weeks, but if we could get together just via chat and sort of hammer these out.
Yeah, let me take a couple of days just to get used to that.
Sure.
Just to actually go and refresh myself on what we actually asked last year. And then, yeah, we'll put something in the calendar for next week.
Excellent.
A working session, yeah.
Yeah. Define a diary calendar process to update roadmap guides and glossaries. I'm going to take on just doing the calendar part myself. I think I mentioned this before. I'll do the calendar part myself. By next meeting, I'll just have a list of things that we need to cycle through every year and just throw together some dates when I think that they like, okay, survey, do it in
Well,
May of every year, you know.
well, why don't we create a page on in the community section on the OKD.io site?
Yeah.
And then we can have like a next due column, and then when we do it, we'll just recycle that up 6 months or whatever.
I like it. Excellent. Collect use cases for feature toggle. We never really, that never got any traction, and I actually didn't hear anything from Red Hat anymore about it being used.
No, I think we want to icebox that or close it off, and then if it resurfaces, we can bring it up again.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's back in September, and I didn't see anything. Let's see, OCP feature gate. Oh no, this is for Kubernetes features gates.
Yeah, I mean, this was to try and make the features where you could actually turn on and off experimental, and possibly turn them off without having to reinstall the cluster. Because at the minute, I believe if you turn it on, you can't turn it off without crashing and rebuilding the cluster. So this was making that feature gate a little bit more usable.
Yeah, but it doesn't look like they've done anything even in the OCP space along those lines either. So, okay.
So I'm just going to close that. I've said no interest from community, closing.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it sounds good, but we just don't have enough people, I think, that we're tracking or communicating with who are doing experimental stuff. We know there's people doing experimental stuff, but we don't know who, and we're not communicating with them, and we don't really have any features unique to OKD right now yet.
Yeah, I wouldn't say no interest. I would close it because we don't have the capability of doing it.
Yeah,
and basically it goes back to, like, Red Hat can't really do it, and the reason they can't do it is the underlying philosophy of Kubernetes.
Yeah.
Which is, you make a big change, rebuild everything from scratch.
Yeah.
Which is, sort of, I mean, it's okay for the R&D side. It's not quite so good for the production side.
Well, it's, I mean, I've been leaning towards the GitOps stuff lately, and I think if you have your manifests, you can do it. And now with ACM, Advanced Cluster Manager, and the non-commercial offering, like, you can spin up clusters pretty quick. But there's always a bunch of nuances of things maybe you didn't capture, and different resource names in AWS and things like that, if you're doing AWS or whatever. So it's not a perfect rebuild every time yet, I don't think.
Right. Well, I mean, the question isn't spinning up a cluster. The question is preserving your load. Okay.
Right.
So if you're going to actually do what you're wanting, not only you'd have to get Kubernetes itself to be working under GitOps, but every single thing that was run on it.
Yeah.
Which means that I guess if somebody did an ad hoc, like build a container, push it to some repository, and then do a pull into Kubernetes or into OKD, then there's a lot of manual processes in that, and they would just go away when you rebuilt the cluster.
Yeah.
And so you're asking for a certain amount of discipline from all of the users as well, which I think is a heavy ask.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, reach out to volunteers. That's an ongoing process. We did get 2 new people volunteering in the past couple of months, which is good, like, who are showing up to meetings for the most part regularly.
Yeah, I mean, I just had a thought there. I wonder, because I know that Red Hat do advocacy, sort of local advocacy.
Mhm.
I'm just wondering if we can do anything to try and get people to go and speak at local meetups and local events to try and promote OKD and the community.
That's a good question. I wonder.
I mean, I'm guessing that's what Amy. That's something that we push through Amy.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, let's put a note in that. Actually, why don't you go ahead and update that and put that in as a note. The other thing that I was thinking of is I need to update that item with I did add a volunteers subgroup in GitHub so that we can add people as volunteers now and sort of treat them as a group. So I'll need to add a note for that as well. And okay, missing security contacts. Looks like we just need someone to update the website with that.
Yeah, I've done nothing with that.
Yeah. I'll add myself to it. I'll go ahead and get to that. Let me add myself. You got a lot of other stuff going on as well. So, and I'm starting to crank through my stuff. So let me add me, and then I'll go ahead and get to that. Okay.
Sorry, I just noticed that you started that column halfway down.
Did I? Oh,
Yes.
You're right. Oh, shoot. You're right. Whoops. That's weird. It must remember if you've like where you left off, because I just loaded that page and I know I didn't scroll through it. Let's see. Investigate tutorials for setting up OKD, determine if you have good options to refer people to okd.io. He's not here to speak to that, so I think we'll wait. Draft, what is OKD section of getting started page? This was a Diane thing. And then Michael asked about if we could repurpose the OpenShift container platform item. Diane's been kind of hit or miss showing up, but I don't think we want to assign things to her anymore.
Yeah, I think this is all part of the of the refreshing the home landing page, because I think this is all about what is the first encounter for somebody discovering us. As I say, we just migrated the old site over to the new MKDoc stuff, and it's a lot of fluff and not a lot of useful information, if I can say that without being too derogatory. There's a lot of buzzwords on the page, but not a lot of information.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think we need to really try and look at the whole homepage, what the messaging is, because again, we've had a few discussions around people don't quite understand that what OKD is and what they can do with it, and more importantly, what resources they need for it. They hear the thing, it's a community version. They don't really know what the relationship to Red Hat is, what the relationship to OpenShift is. The fact that it is truly free to use, no license, even though it uses most of the OpenShift container platform source code. So I think we just have to look at that. And again, I'm getting the point of maybe we just need to set up a monthly working session somewhere, a time that like-minded people can get together to work on something rather than having a meeting.
Well, and ultimately that's where this group sprang out of us meeting, going over the website and saying, let's meet on the alternate Tuesday and look at the web stuff. So I'd be into that.
I mean, the other thing is we could use the first Tuesday of the month to do the board review, the second one as a working. That might be another one.
Good idea.
Because I think something like this, it needs the community to contribute as a whole. So having a brainstorming, an hour brainstorming session to actually define what we want the messaging on the homepage to be, then someone can go and create it. But I think it's a group discussion rather than one person go do all the work.
Do you want to run? Let's run with that then, starting. Do you want to start in 2 weeks and just have that be the first meeting of going through the site and listing the things?
As long as we get participation.
Right.
Because I mean,
Yeah.
that's the problem if we have another one of like this, when there's only
Yeah.
the three of us.
Yeah. Well, I understand. So let's earmark it for next meeting, next community
Put it
development
in the
meeting.
agenda.
Yeah, and if folks, and I'll send something out over the working group email. And if we get enough people, then yeah, let's run with it for sure. Yeah. Okay. The operator discussion. I see there's been some movement on that. For the meeting.
How's that?
The community virtual meeting to help create catalog of operators for Operator Hub. I see that Shireen actually shared some stuff last week.
Yes, but what we haven't done is we haven't actually created the meeting yet. So that's another one of these where we need a meeting.
You're right. Right, and that one needs to be publicized pretty well, right?
Yes, so maybe this month is going to be the homepage, next month can be the operators.
I like it. That sounds good. Investigate the CRC and OKD option from the Red Hat. Oh, actually, we're create a blog post for the current OKD roadmap. There's a lot of us on that, and I think that I was kind of waiting for them to get a little more clarity in terms of the builds and stuff like that and their cycle. I feel like now that they're starting to hit a stride with that, so I think now we can actually tackle this and have a sense of where things are going. And I had also heard some murmurings of internal things that I'm curious if those are becoming externalized outside of Red Hat.
Okay.
So yeah, so let's tackle that one. But that's one. Let's actually bring that up at the technical meeting, because ultimately we're going to need input from Shireen, Luigi, Vadim, Christian, etc. So let's bring that up at the technical meeting and say, we want to move forward with this. Are you able to help us really know where things are going?
And it's actually quite a good time because we're about to get the Red Hat 413 video.
And plus Summit is coming up, so folks are thinking about roadmaps anyway, right?
Yep.
All right, perfect. Investigate the CRC on OKD option from the Red Hat team.
Right, that was actually broken, but there's been a fix. But I think there has been a request from the Red Hat team, the community, which is us.
So I'm happy to reach out to him, or you can, but the person that made that comment, I think, is who we want to reach out.
I actually think it goes back to, well, there's a question. Do we want the SCOS to be part of that initiative, or just the FCOS version?
Yeah.
Or is there does that make sense? But then I also think that this has to be part of our release cycle. So every time we release an OKD, there's the equivalent driver or whatever it needs to do the CRC.
And ultimately, we need somebody who is taking the lead on making sure that happens.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
We need a community volunteer who's going to be like, I'll be the CRC person for the next, however many months to make sure.
Yeah. Now, what I'm not sure on that is that can that be a sort of public member? Or does it have to be a Red Hat?
Right.
That has access under the veil of the PROW and the build systems within Red Hat.
Yeah. Well, I'll reach out and find out exactly specifically what's needed. Because that's the thing is when they say, well, we'd like the community to take it over. Well, okay, does the community actually have access to change that manifest, which relates to the certificate, right? So then the question is like, we're gonna have to have someone regularly do that.
Yeah, I mean, now I think the SCOS one, the community could do it because that's all done in the public domain.
Yeah,
But the FCOS version is still, there's still the secret source that happens for Christian or Vadim to actually go and create a release.
yeah. I'm going to add a comment. Jamie will reach out to get access, specific on access. And I'll just I forget the person's name, but I'll reach out to the person that actually said a couple of weeks ago, you know, we want the community, we'd like the community to take this over. Okay, and then we've got the homepage stuff, which basically we know.
Yep. So
Yeah.
that should all get rolled into next week. So I think we've got that draft item, then we've got numbers 1, number 24, number, oh, my page is, okay, number 8. Those 4 are really what next week's about.
Yeah. All right. Review license and copyright requirements.
Then that's where we've done them. We've done that.
Yeah.
Ones.
Yeah. And okay, moving over to in progress, create document. So mark 311 as end of life. That's in progress, and
it has been done, but we've got all versions,
that's
including
right.
4.12.
Got that weird tagging. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Create documentation for node. We know where that's at.
Yeah, it's a shame that none of the red hatters are there, because I want somebody, unless Jamie or Bruce, you've got time to go and look at that. There's a link to there where the document is and the issues are with it. Be interesting to see if you get the same issues.
I'll see if I have some time to play around and duplicate it. We'll see.
Yeah, I might. I mean, I've vaguely been interested in it. I'm sort of up to my ears in project supervision at the moment, but I might be able to give it a shot in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, well, I'd say if you follow that link that I put in, the draft guide can be found here 3 weeks ago. It's on my, it's in my GitHub. That's a step-by-step, so that should be easy to follow. It should require no figuring out a thought, other than when it doesn't work, is to work out.
Right,
if you can find the magic of why it doesn't work, then that'll move us forward.
Okay, fair enough.
But the core OS is still a bit of a mystery to me. How it all happens. And
right, my issue with all those things is always when I start before the pivot, which version of SCOS FCOS do I need to use?
Yeah, so I'm actually using the same version, but the SCOS pivot, it fails before the pivot. The FCOS gets through the pivot, but then the cluster doesn't come up cleanly. So I think there might be something to do with the assisted installer config issue there, but it means start debugging stuff that I just haven't had time to get around to it yet.
All right, well, let's play around and see if we can duplicate that. I can definitely try to give it a shot and take a look. Updating clusters section needs to be updated. That's a Mr. Burke. I'll reach out again, see if I can get him, investigate the plugin. We talked about that. Brian, you're doing the selecting a plugin for updating the making the blog post process easier. Remove some support section from the OKD docs.
There has been some movement on that over the last week, but I'm just looking at it. It still says contact Red Hat support. So I think we may just need to help Michael.
Well, he put, I mean, he's waiting, I think, for us to respond on which modules need to be removed from the support book So basically, we just need to go under support and list out the things that we think should be pulled from it. Because book is basically page, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let's take a look at that. Matter of fact, we could probably take a look at that at the next meeting if we don't do the web stuff. Remove construct survey. We talked about that. So I'm working on the survey for 2023. Link is there. If I can get feedback over the next like 2 weeks or so, that would be awesome. And then we'll put it out. And then synthesizing the survey results, working on that, making some graphs, and that'll help inform how I manipulate the data from the 2023 survey. Now, the question is, how long should we have this survey up? I mean, we sort of kept it open-ended, but I almost feel like there's a point where we should just sort of take a snapshot and then say, okay, let's put up a new survey next year or whatever.
I mean, if we look now, if you think of, I mean, we could either do it, leave it up for a month, or we could leave it up to the end of August, sort of holiday season, and just keep people till the end of August, and then we look to publish the results end of September.
Okay.
And actually have an annual cycle there. It goes live in May. You've got till August, September. We publish the results.
Okay.
The other thing is, ideally, it should tie in with our roadmap. So
Exactly.
if we want to publish the roadmap in September, then that would be a good thing. If we're looking to do a roadmap May, June time, then the results need to come out before that roadmap.
And I would say that you probably need a month or two between when the survey closes to actually factor that stuff into the roadmap. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let's get feedback then on the roadmap construction process at next week's meeting, and then I think that'll help inform survey time frame. Update dependency versions for OKD.io. That's in review. And looks like you got a commit from 3 weeks ago for that.
Yes. So what I did is I just went through and updated all of the dependencies. So all of the build files, I just brought it up to the latest version of everything.
Okay.
So I mean, that's something that really needs to be done every month or 2 months.
So that's actually something we should add to our process. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's just making sure that we're not using old images or libraries that may have CVEs or anything like that.
Okay.
So I mean, no one shouted and said I've broken anything, so I think I can just close.
I'd say go ahead. Yeah, I'd say go ahead and close it. I think that's good, and then we'll add it to the process, the cyclical process. And create documentation for single node installation. That's in review. And
so that one is Luigi's.
Let's see. Yeah, it's merged in. Okay. All right, so that one's can be closed as well. All right.
Yeah, and they said
things out of review.
Yeah, now whether anyone's actually read it, I'm not really sure what in review means. Whether we want some people to, I mean, I went through it when I approved the merge, and there was a couple of changes that Luigi made from my comments, but I don't know whether we want to formalize this piece and actually have 2 or 3 people look and comment, or whether it's just like we leave it there for a couple of weeks, and if no one screams that it's broken or wrong, then we close them automatically.
So one of the things that other groups do is they have sort of a like you need like 2 maintainers or 3 you need a number of reviewers, right, to do that. Do we want to do that for stuff for the website? That's, you know, is that going to be too tedious if we make it that like at least 2 of us need to sign off on it?
I think there's 2 answers there. When there's like maximum of like 4 or 5 people making changes, I think
Yeah,
it's not an issue, but I'm hoping we get to the point where there are 10s and 20s of people making changes,
right.
some of which are going to be first time changes, newbies, and that's when you're going to want a little bit more scrutiny.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, so this really comes back into the document the process. It's
Right.
like, what do we want in terms of who can sign off a merge, and then what is the, if they've done the sign off correctly, do we need a post merge review, or how do we want to play it? And I don't have an answer.
Yeah,
When we've just got such a small community, I think we can just work fairly ad hoc. But I'm aware that if we want the community to grow, then we will need a little bit more structure and a little bit more defined process.
yeah,
Right. Well, maybe what we could do is go ad hoc until it breaks, and then, put in the structure then. Okay. Uh, in other words, as long as, the informal, hasn't broken anything yet, so we might as well approve it. As long as that works, we stay with that, and we're ready for growth. But
yeah.
we don't get too encumbered by process, albeit good process. I mean, I agree with you on that, before we get the growth.
Should we start putting documents that we want to collaboratively work on in the planning section? Like, I'm thinking about, okay, this document to outline processes and what are all of the tasks that we need to do cyclically. I'm feeling like we should just start adding documents within that repo, within the planning repo. And then
We can
people
add,
just,
we can
yeah,
add documents, or if they don't need to be full documents, have a discussion, a comment in the issue.
that's true. That's true. It's the thing about doing it as a discussion is that then it's stacked. It's not like the entire list of things, and then people have to refer back.
I mean, the other thing is we actually just start working on the page collaboratively.
On
We
the
will
actual
just go
web
in.
pages, you mean?
Yeah, I don't know whether we want to. And
Well, is
again,
that,
this
yeah.
is how we want to work. I mean, do we want to create a branch, and let's say this branch is working on this issue,
Mhm.
and then we can then work on the page
Yeah.
without it implicate or impacting any of the live stuff.
So that's kind of a workflow question. Like, I
Yeah.
always approach things as you work out the details of the thing, and then you put it into a web page as a secondary step. But I noticed that you're more towards use the
Well,
web page as the source of truth, as it were.
I mean, for collaborative working,
Mhm.
why not use Git for what it's designed to do?
No, I understand that, but as
Yeah,
I mean, as just a source file versus
yeah.
a web page. Do you see what I
I
mean?
mean, the issue then is you then have the whole, well, where is the document going to be? Is it going to be a Google Doc? Who are you going to give permissions to edit it? And
Well, if you do it, I mean, we could do it as an MD file in the planning repo and not make it a web page. My fear is that if we work directly in the web pages, then we're going to be waiting for the page and build pipeline to run and
well,
stuff.
not if it's in a branch. That only happens on the main.
Oh,
So if
that's
it's in a
true. That's
branch,
true. Yeah.
but the web page that will become, and
Yeah.
then what it means is that you can then run the mk docs or npm build
Right.
command and have a local version, so you can actually then check that you've got the formatting correct. Whereas mkdoc, or if you use hackmd, you've then got to transpose it across and add the formatting in. And
Right.
I mean, I'll go either way, but I'm just thinking, well, if the end result is going to be a web page, we can just create a branch for the issue and then collaboratively work on that branch without it impacting the main live version.
Mhm.
And then people can just use their local sort of workflow to actually check the formatting, see what it looks like within the, and then we can just crash the branch if it all goes wrong and we abandon it, and
All right.
it's caused no
Yeah.
issue.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
All right. Then that's the
That's
process we'll
good.
follow then. Cool.
And then just name the branch in the, just create an issue that when we get, so like in that calendar one, we can say moving to branch whatever,
Yeah.
and then we can actually just say, yeah, okay.
Sounds good to me. All right. So that brings us through all of the items. Is there anything else that we need to cover?
I'm just in the minutes, we probably want to, I'm just looking here. Yeah, we probably just want to document that we're thinking of alternate meetings
Yes.
will be work meetings. What was the other thing that we said that we wanted to do?
The operators meeting, I think, is going to be
Yes. So from there,
next month.
next will be homepage page following, which will be June. Come on, fingers work. The operator.
All right. And then I'll get that form out. Regrettably, my plan to hopefully connect with more people here to let them know that the form was coming for meeting time didn't quite work out. It is the inverse of what I intended. So, but I'll go ahead and send that out with 3 options, basically. Follow GMT, keep it at what would be, for me, noon Eastern. So switch the GMT time, or provide a different suggestion. Those will be the 3 options. All right. Is there anything else? All right. I think we're good then. Thanks, Bruce, for showing up. Give your puppy some love for us. What's your puppy's name?
I think that's classified. I'd have to ask my wife if I can divulge that information.
All right. Well, thanks.
When we're
We'll,
recording.
yeah. All right. Well, thanks, folks. It was a great meeting. We got a lot done, and I'll see you next week.
Take care.
Bye.